Okay, JR, are you ready to record?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
You're listening to the 412 podcast from FBC Mustang in Mustang, Oklahoma, where we take you behind the scenes as we equip the saints for the work of the ministry. I'm Jeremy Davis, your host. Let's get started. What is it that you're looking forward to the most?
Great chance to get to know people better.
It is an absolute madhouse.
I try to find a place with good salads.
So 3 sermons a day.
I never did youth ministry, mainly because I'm scared.
It feels good up here.
We run to the woods thinking, Lord, take my life. I'm done.
Often how I prepare my own heart. I'm looking and reading and thinking.
We had students in the room, 6th through 12th graders, singing at the top of their lungs the doxology.
The engine that is pulling the train should be truth.
I like it.
I like it too.
Okay.
Welcome back to the pod, everybody. We've got a great panel of guests with us today, and we're going to be looking at the very behind-the-scenes ministry, our media ministry, talking about sound, lights, all the streaming room, all of those things. We've got 3 people coming with us today. We've got J.R. Ausmus, who is our director of media. We have the illustrious Jeff Landis, and the one and only Kyler Mitchell. So, guys, welcome to the show.
Oh, glad to be here.
For having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, JR, we'll just kick off with you because you are the director of media here. So give us a brief overview of what you do. You're a full-time employee here at the church every day of the week. So give us a little bit of an insight of what you do each day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, starting off, I oversee all technological aspects of the church. AVL is probably the biggest area of what I do.
Tell them what AVL is.
Yeah, AVL stands for Audio Visual Lighting.
Okay.
We have 3 really big areas of our church that use AVL on a regular basis. The first one is obviously the worship center, the youth center, and then the brick as well. Also, the kids zone uses that occasionally. But my main task is to oversee the worship center, and Kashawn will do the youth center. But overall, it's my responsibility to do that.
Sure. Okay, and then there are other various things that you oversee, such as our church website and some different things like that. Tell us about some of those things.
Yeah, recently, so Olivia Travis, about a month ago, was overseeing the website completely. And then we had an idea to kind of split that up. She has skills in particular areas. I have skills in other areas. So it made sense to split and do our respective things. And then I'm also doing IT as well here. Jonathan Pregler is the one who set up our IT system and has been maintaining that. But over the course of the past months and continuing on, I'll be taking over that as well.
Very good. So it's all the stuff that most people don't even know is going on, but in reality affects everybody, because if you're here on a Sunday morning, you're being affected by this ministry. So Jeff Landis, introduce yourself real quick. You're married and have a couple kids, correct?
That's right. Been married 34 years, have 7 kids. I have 3 still attending church with us locally. So my 3 boys come to church with us, and my others are in various parts of the country. But it's good to be here. We've been here since before COVID. That's how long we've been here. We are BC people.
BC people.
That's right.
Very good. And then Kyler Mitchell.
Yeah, so I've been going to church here since kindergarten or roughly before, and I've been doing media and the tech side of things since 6th grade.
Very cool. Awesome. And he helps us out in the brick on Sunday mornings for our Crossroads ministry. So he runs that. It's a small soundboard and computer, but he's a huge help there as well. You're also recently a staff member of our church.
Yes, so that's true. I got the keys to all the rooms and all the stuff like that. So I'm not trying to abuse my power just yet. But, hey,
yeah. So
one day
you're part of our building staff. So you're part of setup and getting things ready and making sure the building's in good shape for Sundays and for events and all those things. So we've got some events coming up this weekend that you're going to be helping us out with. So that's excellent. Glad you're here. So Jeff, you have been here BC before COVID. What do you do on a typical Sunday?
So we start our rehearsals about 7:45. So that means I leave the house about 7, stop by Dutch, make sure I have some caffeine before I get here. And we start rehearsal about 7:45 to get ready for both of the worship services that we have at 9 and 10:30.
Excellent.
And That is the limit of my responsibility. I have no keys. I'm not nearly as cool as Kyler. All I'm responsible for is making sure John Brewer is still happy with me at the end of the worship service.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
So
makes
far,
that really
so
hard
far,
for
pretty
him
good.
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Thank you, JR, for your help in that regard.
Yeah, so run the massive soundboard that's in the sound booth. So if you attend our church, if you see the guy that's in the kind of the big hole in the middle of the room, and he's playing with a bunch of knobs, that's
me.
That's you.
That's
Yep.
me.
Very good.
Moving things around. That's right.
Yep. Very good. Kyler, what does a typical Sunday look like for you?
So I typically wake up around, if rehearsal's at 7:45, I'll wake up around 7. I only live 5 minutes away from the church, which is really, really nice.
That is nice.
And so I wake up, I'll probably get here around 7:20, 7:25. JR typically already has my stuff on, so
There you go.
I kind of just unmute everything, make sure everything's ready to go for rehearsal, and then I'll start mixing the audio and getting that ready for the service.
Very cool. Now you're doing streaming audio, correct?
Yes, so I've been doing that for a few months now with someone else, Braden Travis.
Okay, awesome. So, streaming audio, for those of you who don't know, that would be the stream that you hear online. So that mix is very different than the mix that is live inside the worship center. Just take some different dynamics there, streaming through the computer and through your headphones or TV speakers or whatever it is versus the big speakers that are there for all of us live. So both of you guys are mixing sound, doing it in some different areas in some different ways. JR, on a typical Sunday, how many people do we have when it comes to sound booth, cameras, streaming room, all of that? How many people are working in the media on a standard Sunday?
Yeah, for sure. We have 8 people each week, and we have, right now, I've added 4 new volunteers. They just finished their training, actually, this last week. So now we have, on our team, total 22 people, but only 8 of them are up here each week. We have, obviously, so I'm going to give you 2 terms here to remember. FOH stands for front of house, and that's referring to the live audience in the worship center.
Okay.
And then studio is referring to live stream.
Okay.
So the 8 positions are, so I'm the media director. I just kind of oversee things. I don't do anything important. I just make sure nothing breaks. You have Jeff, and I'm very thankful for Jeff. Having him as a consistent person every week
Yeah.
to do front of house audio, that's a real blessing that I don't think our church understands. But he's just wonderful. I can't thank him enough for all that he's done, and it's a real blessing to have that here. Then we have a front of house camera operator, that big tall tower standing in the middle of the sound booth. That's our one-manned camera,
Okay.
and they really clue in on those zoomed-in shots of particular praise team members, of John, of the pulpit, stuff like that.
Okay. Primarily for the live stream.
Yes, for the live stream. Yes.
Okay.
And then we'll have a IMAG operator. That just stands for image magnification. So your screens.
Yeah.
We run a software called ProPresenter, and we put all our words, our scriptures, our sermon slides, and stuff like that on there. And then we really have the same thing in the back just for the live stream.
Yeah.
Like we said, Kyler does audio as well as Braden Travis. We have a studio iMag. Our lower thirds lyrics are on the live stream for our viewers to see that and sing along at home. We have 2 PTZ cameras, and that stands for pan, tilt, zoom. But those 2 cameras are operated via a joystick controller here in the back.
Okay.
And those have just been upgraded to 4K, so all of our cameras are 4K now. But they're good at wider shots, getting your generic big praise team shots, choir shots, instrumental shots, stuff like that. And then our last position back here is called a producer, and that's essentially a video switcher, kind of taking our inputs from our camera, our ProPresenter, and then putting them out on the live stream. So they'll switch camera shots, give our live stream viewers a big picture of what's happening, not just one camera shot. And I'm just going to say it all together. All of our volunteers are absolutely wonderful. I've seen a huge growth in our live stream these past 6 months that I've been here. I went back to 2020 when First Baptist Mustang started streaming, and it's just come a long way. And,
Yeah.
all of that is due to our volunteers. We have a great team that has commitment to get here early on Sundays, stay late if needed, and they do a really good job, and we're blessed to have our volunteers here.
Yeah, that's great. That's and that's one of the things to remember is that for us to be able to live stream and produce those things, we essentially have to double, if not more than double, the number of volunteers that we have on a Sunday morning to make all of that happen. And so, perhaps people think it's just as simple as setting a camera up and hitting record or something like that. There's a lot that goes into it for it to be a quality recording, for it to be a quality stream, and that's certainly what we're shooting for. We want to do everything with excellence, and I think everyone does a great job. So, Jeff, you run sound. How long? I know you've been here at the church since before 2020, but how long have you been mixing sound? Because it's not just a skill you just pick up, like somebody just kind of shows you how to do it and you just start doing it. That's something that's developed over a long period of time.
Well, I've been thinking about Kyler. I'm smiling at him right now because about a year ago I was able to go to the youth room and help teach the guys there that run the sound how to run sound, and Kyler was one of the proteges in that.
There you go.
In that endeavor, and he just did a great job. Has a great ear to mix, and I told JR, now that Kyler's out of the youth, we need to bring him up here. So super glad to have Kyler. We did a great job back then. I have been running sound for about 40 years. I'm that old. I know it's hard to tell that by looking at me. But 40 years ago. So started out in high school, just at a small Baptist church that was a whole lot simpler than our operation that we have here with a couple of mics and a couple of knobs, and that was just it. But I've been running sound and theater stuff and churches. Did that for probably maybe 20 years, 15 years.
Okay.
And then started having kids, and so kind of dropped out of running sound so I could be with my kids in the worship service and do that. But then the kids, they grew up and they went on. So when we came here, which was, like I say, before COVID, about 5 years ago, John talked me into coming in and running sound on our streaming side. So I was doing in the beginning what Kyler's doing now.
Yeah.
And ran sound probably for a year and a half, 2 years maybe back here. And then we had some turnover out front. Mm-hmm. And I was promoted up. I rose through the ranks.
Rose through the ranks.
It was only one rank, but it was just from one to the next.
Rose through the rank.
Rose through the rank all the way up to doing front of house. So now if anything messes up, everyone can just look at you directly and
turn around and look at you,
wondering what happened on the stream.
Well, that's great. So what is it that drew you to doing sound in the church? Is there something particular that you thought, man, I would like to be a part of that, or there's a reason that I want to do this? Is there something that kind of got you thinking that direction?
I've just kind of always been a nerd.
Okay.
Kind of geeky. I like knobs and lights and buttons, and I like the sound, and I like to have it sound the way I like for it to hear. So it's kind of a perfect job of I get to mix it up the way I think it should sound.
Sure.
But it's just something I've just done really for a long time. Just like to be a part of that. So I'm decently good at it, good enough to keep my non-paying job, Kyler, so don't worry about that one rank up on that. But just something I've enjoyed doing. God blessed me with a musical family. Mm-hmm. We're not an athletic family. We're a musical family. So my kids sing and play, and my wife sings and plays, and so we spent years doing that as a family. But I was always the sound guy and the lighting guy when we did stuff in our theater. Just done that for a long time. Just like to do it.
Very cool. Kyler, what about you? What drew you to this ministry area?
I've always had the heart to serve the church. Whenever I was younger, I didn't really know to what degree that might look or where that would put me. Mm-hmm. But whenever I started in sixth grade, whenever I was in the youth, my older brother actually did tech, so I'm kind of looking to him in that aspect of the technology side. That kind of drew me to it. Mm-hmm. So I started roughly sixth grade. I was on the slides side of things. It wasn't until...
When you say slides, you mean like doing the lyrics and stuff?
Yeah, the lyrics and just the transitions of the lights that you see on Sundays behind the worship stands.
Like behind the choir loft.
Yeah. So I was doing that for a while. It wasn't until my junior or senior year where I started doing the audio side of things, and that's where I started having a lot of fun. And like Jeff said earlier, he was able to help me, and I'm still learning, but it is fun to kind of put it how I kind of like, and hopefully it's been sounding good. But if it hasn't,
Yeah.
don't tell me.
Don't tell them. Okay. Very good. So, Jeff, how has sound and just media ministry in general changed over the years? You said you've been doing this for 40 years. How have you seen it change over the years?
I think a lot of it is just the rest of our world, right? I mean, we're so engaged now in so much different types of audio. You know, back in the old days when it was a cassette player or something, you know,
Right.
you didn't have that access to the high quality audio, but now it's coming out of our phones all the time. It's all around us. So, you know, while we're not really competing with the world in our ministry for how we make things sound, we don't want people to come and hear music that's like, that's just really subpar. You know, when you hear really good music on your phone in your car all the time, then what's going on? Why can't the church get to that? And we don't strive to get to that level, but we do strive to do things with excellence.
Right.
We're really blessed at this church that the church has invested in good equipment. We have really good equipment here.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that big soundboard. It does a lot of things that I don't know what to do with it, but it does a lot of things I do use every Sunday morning that a lot of boards just don't have that capability. So it's just all about, I use the word sculpting, sculpting the sound and the equalization and the blend and all of that just so that it sounds really good.
Yeah.
You know, the goal for me is that, you know, you've got 500 people, you know, in the worship service each session, you know, that there's not a distraction. I don't want people to think, that just doesn't sound very good, or that instrument is way too loud, or that singer is way too loud, or there's just so many different things that can happen. So having good tools at your disposal. I mean, like I said, all of our equipment is good.
Right.
But being able to just mix that and blend it and sculpt it to where you just don't hear it. I mean, that's really my goal. I don't want people to think about the sound. I want them to listen to the songs that John's picked out, having it backed up by the instruments that he's put all of the orchestrations together with that and the different parts that they're playing, that it just works and people can sing and they can worship and they're not thinking about any of that other stuff that I'm thinking about 100 mile an hour to make sure it just works right for the service.
Yeah, that makes sense. And everything that we do as a church is focused on Scripture, focused on the Bible and the preaching and teaching, the proclaiming of His Word. And obviously, the microphones and all of that go on, they're very, very helpful in that.
Very helpful.
Nobody would be able to hear us, and we'd have to build our buildings very differently and have smaller groups. We'd have to have like 7 services on a Sunday, so we could have a small enough group that could hear us all at once. But a big part you just said is the distractions. So often, just the little things, or the buzzing, or that ring that goes on, or something sounding out of place, is a distraction for why we have gathered. And we want to use this technology and all of this stuff the best that we can to proclaim Christ and to make much of Him and Him alone. But we don't want it to be a distraction either. In fact, we were just having this conversation with some of our pastoral interns. We were talking about notes while we're preaching. So as a preacher, as we're flipping through our notes, we want our notes to not be a distraction. And it being something that we're so tied to that it looks like that's all we're doing is just reading from something. It to be something that, we're moving around and shuffling a bunch of stuff on the pulpit as we're teaching, because all of that is just distractions. People are just focusing on that instead of thinking about what we're saying or what the word says. So that's a huge part of I think what we all do is trying to not be a distraction to the purpose of why we come to church and why we're here. JR, what is it that initially drew you to media ministry, just in general? And I know obviously you're in a little bit different vein here because you do this as your livelihood. But what is it that initially drew you into this area of ministry?
Yeah, for sure. At a very early age, I got into video editing, like first and second grade. It was nothing fancy. We had a little computer, a laptop at home. I took our family pictures and put some music to it and made it into like a pretty slideshow. But I really enjoyed it, and I went to our technical director at our church, Capitol Hill at the time, and I asked him if I could be a part of the team. This was 3 years later, so we're in 5th grade now. And so he let me serve on cameras there. I served there for about 3 to 4 years until COVID happened, and then I got into the IMAG area, and I was actually one of 2 volunteers that was there over that whole period of COVID. And during that time, our worship pastor asked me if I would kind of start leading over that whole area of ministry since our previous director left at that point. So I jumped in that role, self-trained on audio for a few years, and eventually took that whole ministry up under the direction of our worship pastor. And looking forward to now, I am really blessed to get to be here full-time. To have a media director full-time is a newer thing for a lot of churches, and to get to do this full-time for me is just an absolute blessing. To get to work with great pastors that preach the word faithfully, with our other office staff that encourage me every day, and with our wonderful volunteers that do their jobs well. That's a huge blessing, and I am so grateful that the Lord put me on this path.
Man, that's great, and we're so glad to have you here as well. You know, in my previous church, I had the opportunity to oversee all of our media, and you know, the AVL, all that stuff that went on, all of our streaming, everything, and just from that experience, just overseeing it, not even necessarily being the guy that knew what he was doing, but trying to put some things together, put volunteers together, and all of that. I saw what a huge task it was, and then when I came here, I realized how much I didn't know about any of this stuff, and just seeing some of the expertise that goes on here, and just the high quality of production that happens. And so I know for me as a pastor, I'm incredibly grateful for all of you guys and everybody that serves in this area, to know that on any given Sunday, I can walk in and know that this part of the ministry is taken care of, and that I can focus on just the preaching and the teaching on that Sunday, or focus on that and you know, whatever other things we may have going on. But the volunteers here are just absolutely phenomenal, and we're really, really grateful for that. And grateful for a church that gives, and we're able to have ministry and have equipment and all of that to go into this. Well, it's been a great episode and a great opportunity to get to see behind the scenes a little bit of the media ministry. Kyler, JR, and Jeff, thank you guys so much for being here and being part of the episode.
You bet. It's a pleasure.
And thank you, listener, for joining us once again for the 412 podcast. We will catch you next time. This podcast is made possible by the members of First Baptist Mustang. This podcast is produced by John Ausmus, our Director of Media, artwork by Olivia Travis, Director of Communications, and music by Pastor John Brewer, Worship Pastor here at FBC Mustang. For more information about First Baptist Church in Mustang, you can go to fbcmustang.org. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the 412 podcast.